Hi, I'm Gail Sokol, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about chocolate mousse.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail Sokol. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
On today's show, I thought it might be neat to talk about mousse in general and specifically chocolate mousse because we love it. It's fluffy, it's creamy, it's chocolatey, it's French. So we love all those things. So let's define what is a mousse and what a mousse actually is consisting of. It's usually a sweet, cold, creamy thing or concoction that's made from whipped cream. Basically, whipped cream is always in there, and or egg yolks, and or egg whites. So again, what you're hearing is some mousses are made with eggs, some mousses are made without, some are made with only egg yolks or egg whites. So it varies. And then it can be flavored with any of the following: melted chocolate, fruit purees, liqueurs, coffee, vanilla, and butter. So these are, the butter is an enriching ingredient that can actually be used in many mousses to make it even richer than it already is, right? So in a previous show, we talked about egg foams and meringues. Egg foams are used for many types of sponge cakes and other baked goods as well. And today we're going to explore using egg foams in mousses and specifically chocolate mousse. So there are, I'm not exaggerating, a gazillion recipes out there for mousses. They have varying degrees of difficulty and authenticity, and some may not use eggs at all. And because they don't use cooked eggs, a lot of the recipes, some people are concerned about this. So other recipes have been created to avoid this completely. So you can use a pasteurized egg product when making a mousse. However, if the recipe contains egg whites and the egg whites are beaten to a foam where you're actually forcing air into them, be aware not all egg products on the market are capable of creating a meringue. Sometimes on the container, you will see it says not recommended for meringues. If you're getting something commercially, some restaurants can get egg white products that will beat up, but some you cannot. So be very, very careful what you're purchasing, or you'll end up making a lot of omelets and you won't be able to use them for mousses, that particular pasteurized egg product. So my advice is experiment with a pasteurized egg product in your area and see if it will whip up if you are concerned about using raw eggs. Now, some recipes will heat the egg to an extent, but basically, I have to be honest with you, an authentic French mousse typically uses uncooked eggs. And when I was a pastry chef at this iconic restaurant in my area, they had me make this chocolate mousse recipe that they've had for many, many years, and there were uncooked eggs in it. So, no one ever got ill. I made it in a sanitary way as I could, but it did have uncooked eggs. So if you are concerned about it, there are alternatives. Now, mousses can be tricky unless you follow the recipe exactly. And I'm trying to debunk some of the issues with mousse because problems can arise. There are two ingredients in mousse that don't go together easily. Okay. I don't know why, but they just don't. If you're making a lemon mousse, you don't have any problems. If you're making a maple mousse, you don't have any problems. But if you want to make a chocolate mousse, because that's the topic of today's show, all right, we're going to go big or go home. We're going to talk about the most difficult type, chocolate, melted chocolate in particular, doesn't like to be combined with cold whipped cream. Trust me from experience on this. It will fight you all the way. And I have had many disasters. I have had many learning experiences. and I have learned how to avoid it. And I'm going to sort of help you avoid the issues with combining melted chocolate and whipped cream. So why does this occur? What is happening? Does chocolate not like whipped cream? Does whipped cream have it out for chocolate? Well, it's actually very simple when you think about it. The fat in the chocolate, which is cocoa butter, right? That's what we love about chocolate, will solidify instantly because it's normally a solid at room temperature. And it's going to solidify instantly when it's combined with a cold product. And that's what heavy cream is. Heavy cream has to be kept cold in order to beat up and accept any air. It must be cold. If you try to beat up warm heavy cream, it won't happen. So if the chocolate is combined, the melted chocolate is warm and the heavy cream that's been whipped is cold, you will make chocolate chip mousse with clumps of chocolate. It will just solidify instantly. And there'll be lots of lumps and you won't get that creamy texture that we love and associate with a mousse. So I'm going to give you one way right now. It's not the only way. I'm going to go into another way as well. One way to combine warm melted chocolate and cold cream without these issues. We're going to be a little sneaky, but it's going to work. So listen up how we're going to combine them. So first, melt your chocolate over a double boiler, all right? And allow it to cool down so it's barely warm. You don't want it to solidify. As chocolate cools, to room temperature, it will get thicker, but it will not solidify. And then you're going to take some of the unwhipped heavy cream. You notice I said unwhipped, so the liquid heavy cream, and you're going to blend it into the chocolate with a whisk. And you're going to do it relatively quickly. When you blend the melted chocolate, the barely warm melted chocolate in with the unwhipped heavy cream, the mixture is going to look like a thick chocolate milk at this point. That's fine. Now, the remainder of your heavy cream for your recipe, whatever it is, you're going to whip it to firm peaks, and it's got to be cold. And then the melted chocolate and cream mixture that you just made will be gently folded into it with a rubber spatula. So we're basically fooling the chocolate into blending in with the cold cream with this little mixing trick. And then you're going to pour this entire concoction into a bowl relatively quickly so you don't lose the air in the whipped cream that was whipped. And you're going to put it in the refrigerator to get firm. The trick can be used for those chocolate mousse recipes that use just two ingredients, chocolate and cream. And this is the first type of mousse I want to explore now. So if you're afraid, you don't want to use raw egg, you're allergic to egg, you don't like egg, you have a problem with eggs or salmonella or anything is bothering you and you want an egg-free mousse, you can do this basic procedure without eggs at all. So it's basically a chocolate ganache. Now, you can make a chocolate ganache with heavy cream that's been heated up to a simmer, and then you add chocolate to it, and it becomes like a sauce for over ice cream sundaes. If you let it cool down even more, it gets thick. You can frost a cake with it. And if you beat it, you can beat air into it. And if you don't beat too much air into it, you can pipe it out and make it into chocolate truffles. And I have a recipe like this in my first book, in my textbook about professional baking. And that's the way I made truffles. But it's very dense, and we don't want our mousses dense. So let me give you another way, another procedure to make a mousse without eggs. So here we go. It's not a recipe, it's a procedure. So if you ever find a mousse recipe, and there's many out there that don't use eggs, you can use these tips. So in this type of recipe, two ingredients, chocolate and heavy cream. Some people consider this cheating because they don't look at it as a real mousse. But a lot of famous, restaurateurs and a lot of famous chefs use this. Marcel de Saulnier, who's famous. He's got a Williamsburg, Virginia, famous restaurant that I visited that's fabulous. And I bought all his cookbooks. He uses egg-free mousse in many of his recipes, and they're really delicious. So here we go. So you're going to be using melted chocolate And you're going to be placing it into simmering cream, and you can beat it when it's cold, and you'll get a mousse-like consistency, but it will be heavy and dense, like I said before. So you don't want to do that right now. You want to do something a little bit different. And let me just, I repeated that, so I don't want you to do that. First thing you would do is melt your chocolate. Again, sometimes if you get a egg-free mousse, it will add a little water to the chocolate. It will actually add some water to the chocolate as you're melting it in the double boiler. Now, this adds another little problem. Water and chocolate don't go very well together. Remember the Wicked Witch of the West and a little bit of water and she melted? Well, chocolate will seize up. And we did have a previous show on chocolate and the problems with seizing and water. But if you have enough water, the seizing won't occur. So if you have at least 1 tablespoon of water per 1/3 of cup of chopped chocolate, there won't be any seizing. You got to have enough water. So the water's like a buffer. So you're going to melt the chocolate with some water over a double boiler. You're going to allow it to cool slightly off the heat. And then you're going to whip heavy cream separately until soft peaks form, not firm, soft. And you're going to fold the melted chocolate into that softened whipped cream using a rubber spatula and do it very quickly. And it won't seize up on you, you'll see, but it will be soft because of the water in the chocolate. And you'll quickly scrape that mousse into either molds or wine glasses, whatever you want to serve it in, and chill it overnight. The cocoa butter will firm up in the refrigerator and you'll get a really nice, smooth mousse. But that water really helps. But just remember that ratio, at least 1 tablespoon of water to every 1/3 cup of chopped chocolate, okay? So that is my egg-free mousse, okay? Let's go on to a different procedure for a mousse made using just egg whites. That's all it uses is just egg whites. So if you want to use some egg whites and you want to get some extra aeration there because you're going to force air into your egg whites, you would melt chocolate, again, with enough water to prevent seizing over a double boiler. You would beat your egg whites with your sugar, usually granulated sugar, until stiff peaks form, and you're going to actually create a meringue. Again, you want those mountain peaks coming off of your whip when you turn it right side up. You want to whip the heavy cream until After you whip that heavy cream until stiff peaks form, you're going to place the melted chocolate into a large stainless steel bowl. And you're going to add 1/4 of the egg whites using a whisk. You're going to actually just sacrifice those egg whites right into your melted chocolate, which will help lighten that melted chocolate. Melted chocolate's very, very heavy. So you want to lighten up that chocolate mixture. And then you're going to fold in the whipped cream, followed by the remaining egg whites. So you're going to actually do an alternating type of thing. So you're going to have your melted chocolate. You're going to add a little bit of the egg whites that are beaten to a meringue. Then you're going to whisk those in and then fold in whipped cream. So it sort of protects your whipped cream and keeps it away from the chocolate because it's buffered by those egg whites. And a little bit of water in that melted chocolate. So we're tricking the chocolate and the cream from not really seizing up when they see each other. The chocolate won't seize up. And then you're going to fold in the remaining egg whites. And then you pour it into cups and chill it. And the mixture will set up beautifully and thicken. And it will be smooth and creamy. Absolutely delicious. Now, my next and last topic is making an authentic chocolate mousse. This is a French mousse that's made with egg yolks and egg whites, and it is authentic. It is the way the French authentically make chocolate mousse, okay? So this is the type Julia Child would have made on her show, and I love Julia Child. She was my role model. I wrote to her as a kid, and she wrote me back, and I just loved her. I loved her down-to-earthness. And I always tried to emulate her. But her French mousse did have raw eggs in it. So here is an exact recipe for an authentic mousse au chocolat. Okay, here we go. And this will serve about 6 to 8 people. And you will need to separate 3 eggs into the whites and yolks, separate bowls. And here we go. So in the bowl of an electric mixer, and you're going to always use your whip attachment for a mousse, you're going to beat 1 cup of heavy cream until stiff peaks form. And then you're going to scrape that whipped cream into a small bowl and set it aside. Now, if you want to, you can cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. If you just want to set it aside, as long as your kitchen's not super hot, that's fine. Now you're going to wash your whip and electric mixing bowl and dry it out thoroughly. Because what does cream have in it? It has fat. So we can't whip our egg whites with any fat in it. So we need to make sure the bowl is clean and dry. That was a tip I gave you in a previous show on eggs and egg foams. So you want to beat 3 egg whites until soft peaks form. And then you're slowly going to add 1/4 cup of superfine sugar. And we're going to hold the phone a minute. Superfine sugar, what is that? Superfine sugar can be found in the grocery store. It is just granulated sugar that's been put through a food processor, really, and pulverized so it's even finer than granulated sugar. And it actually dissolves instantly and will prevent any crystalline taste or gritty taste in your mousse. A lot of bartenders use it when they make sugar syrups because it actually dissolves instantly in mixed drinks. So if you can't find it, you can use granulated sugar and give that granulated sugar a couple of whirls around the food processor, and you will get it so it's super, super fine. So you're slowly going to add to your 3 egg whites that are already at soft peaks. You're going to add 1/4 cup of super fine sugar, and you're going to slowly add it, not all at once. And you're going to beat until you get stiff peaks. Then you're going to scrape that mixture into a small mixing bowl and set that aside. So now you have your whipped cream set aside and you have your meringue set aside. Now we're going to deal with our chocolate. In the bowl of an electric mixer using the whip attachment, you're going to beat 6 tablespoons of unsalted, softened butter. And then you're going to have melted chocolate and coffee, and you're going to add it to that butter in the bowl with your whip attachment. Now, the chocolate is 1 1/3 cups of semi-sweet chocolate, can even be chocolate chips. And you're going to melt that over a double boiler with 1/4 cup of brewed coffee. And that's coffee that already has water in it. So it's brewed coffee. And you're going to allow it to cool down, and you're going to add it into that electric mixer along with that softened butter. Then you're going to add the egg yolks. Remember the 3 egg whites we used? Well, you save the yolks, and you're going to add the yolks one at a time using that whip attachment, and you're just going to blend them together. Then you're going to scrape the chocolate and butter mixture into a large mixing bowl. Get a mixing bowl as large as you can find. And then using a whisk, you're going to whisk the egg whites that you beat up before. Remember that you put into a small mixing bowl? Put those right into the chocolate using a rubber spatula. Just get them all into the chocolate and whisk it in. So you're lightening that chocolate mixture. Again, you want to put light into heavy, and the heavy is the chocolate and coffee and butter. So you're going to add the egg whites, which are light and fluffy, into the chocolate and whisk. That will lighten and even lighten in color that chocolate mixture. Next, you're going to take your pre-whipped whipped cream and using a rubber spatula, fold in, gently mix in that whipped cream into your meringue and chocolate and butter mixture. That's your mousse. Now you're going to divide the mousse into 6 to 8 wine glasses or champagne glasses or any type of serving glass or ramekin that you want, and put them in the refrigerator and chill them for several hours. And there you have your authentic French chocolate mousse that is spectacular. So if you've enjoyed the episode today, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, head on over to bakingradio.com and leave me a message. I would love to answer some of your questions on air. And next show, we're going to be talking about sponge cakes.